see Kiko decide to go and hang out with us as well. He's an avid book lover. So the first one is a book that's called Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon. It's written by Lovell and illustrated by David Catrow. I hope I'm saying the name correctly, but this is one of my favorite books. I have actually had this book since I was in elementary school. The first time I ever read this book, my grandmother and I rented it from a library, and I absolutely loved the message and decided to get a copy of my own once I saw it was in the Scholastic Book Fair. So I have had this book for probably over 12 years or so, and it is in very good condition. So I am trusting you to go and take care of this book when I lend it to you, if this is one you'd like to take. Kiko's getting very interested in the books I have here, but this one is very good. So just a little bit of information about it. It's about this little girl who is different than all the other kids, and she gets bullied at times for being different, but throughout the book she gets reminders from what her grandmother told her, and so she decides to do exactly that. And there's just such an amazing message in the book, not only about being different, but also about having confidence. So I don't want to spoil the ending for you. What's that? You'd like to hear my favorite part? Of course. Let's see if I can find a portion so I'm not spoiling too much. Alright, so just to show you some of the art, here's some of the pictures. I love how exaggerated some of the stuff is, but just to read you this part, Molly Lou Melon had buck teeth that stuck out so far she could stack pennies on them. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, smile big and the world will smile right alongside you. So she did. Some of the art I know is a little bit different, but I just remember reading this book growing up and absolutely loving it. So if you're interested in it and need a little pick-me-up, I know it's a kid book, but it's one of my favorites, and it does have an amazing message. his name was Carlisle. So that could be the situation here. But meet Princess Cimarine, a princess who refuses to be proper. She's everything a princess is not supposed to be. Headstrong, tomboyish, smart, and bored. So bored that she runs away to live with a dragon. And not just any dragon, but Gazul, one of the most powerful and dangerous dragons around. Of course, Cimarine has a way of hooking up with dangerous characters, and soon she's coping with a witch, a djinn, a death-dealing talking bird, a stone prince, and some very oily wizards. If this princess ran away to find some excitement, it looks like she's found plenty. So, the reason I loved this book so much as a kid was because this main character was supposed to be prim, proper, a complete princess, but she got bored and she decided she wanted to do other activities because if a guy could do it, why couldn't she? What was so wrong with that? So growing up, it was very good to go and read a book like this where the gender norms weren't applied to this main character, and there's a lot of funny moments, a lot of quirky moments, and even though it is an old book, it is one of my absolute favorites. And best of all, there's other books. So, as you can see, this one is called Searching for Dragons. And then there's Calling on Dragons and Talking to Dragons. So, if you do enjoy reading the first book, I do have the other copies as well. And as you can see, they all kind of look like they're brand new. My grandmother was a librarian, so I was always told to respect my books. So, if you do borrow any of my books, I would hope that you use bookmarks and don't bend any of the pages, please. Thank you. I would really appreciate that. The next one is a book that my third grade teacher recommended for me. And I very much was someone that judged a book by its cover. So this wouldn't have been a book I normally would have read. It's called The Last of the Really Great Whangdoodles. And it is by Julie Andrews. Look, right there. I had no idea until my teacher recommended this to me that she had a book, but it was so whimsical, so magical, and just such a great world to escape into. So like I said, I know the cover looks really weird, or not weird, but might not be the type of art that you look for when you're reading a book, but I promise you, it is amazing. What's that? Oh, you'd like me to read the back of the book to you too? I can definitely do that. So, this one is actually the 30th anniversary edition of a beloved classic. Ben, Tom, and Lindy Potter have never, ever heard of a Whangdoodle until they meet the brilliant Professor Savant. He tells them all about the wise and magical creatures who disappeared to another land because people stopped believing in them. And when the professor invites them on a quest to find the last of the really great Whangdoodles, they can't resist. The way to Whangdoodle Land isn't easy. The children must learn to see things in a completely different way. When at last they succeed, they encounter many wondrous creatures, but it seems they'll never find the elusive Whangdoodle, especially since oily Brock, the sinister Prime Minister of Whangdoodle Land, is determined to stop them in any way he can. So, I love this book because of the imagination that you can have with it and just escaping into this beautiful world, because what's the fun in forgetting about fairy tale creatures and having them not exist anymore? So, I'll give this to you and put it in that pile as well, just in case if you'd like to read it too. So, the next few, I realize I do have quite a few kid books, but I feel like escaping into that childlike wonder does a lot for you, especially when your mood isn't the best and you need a pick-me-up. So, other recommendations that I have would be books that my grandmother read to me as well. I have a few books in the series, and as you can tell, they also look new, aside from the coloring. So, Old Mother West Wind and The Adventures of Danny Meadow Mouse by Thornton W. Burgess. And I love these books so much because it's just kind of very similar to Peter Rabbit and things like that, where there's these little woodland creatures that go about their daily lives and they have different friends. I believe this one's actually Peter Rabbit, by the way. But then the elements like Old Mother West Wind and the Merry Little Breezes are also characters in these books as well. And I remember my grandmother and I would go outside and she'd always say something about, oh, that must be Old Mother West Wind blowing in some wind. Or if there's a playful little breeze, she'd say, looks like it's the Merry Little Breezes. So if you feel like escaping into a cute little world like that, here's these books. But I understand they're not always everyone's cup of tea. So just so that you can get a little information about it, I'm going to read the back of the book as well for the Danny Meadow Mouse one. A plump little meadow mouse is always an inviting target for hungry hunters in the green meadows. This certainly shouldn't give Danny Meadow Mouse enough cause for concern, but lately he's been worrying about something else. His short tail. In fact, he wants so much to have a different tail that he almost forgets to take care of the one he has. Danny spends most of his time avoiding the legs of Hooty the Owl, who drifts effortlessly above him in an open air. Reddy Fox and Old Granny Fox, who stalk him as he races through the snow tunnels. Mr. Black Snake, who silently slithers after him through the grass, and other pesky predators. Youngsters still enjoy reading and listening to the adventures of the Plucky Fool and his friends as they explore the Farmer Brown's orchard. So, here's this book. Akiko. Alright, last recommendation I have was one of my favorites growing up. I was a bit older when I did start reading this, so I did kind of fall out of touch with some of the book series. But the thing I loved about this so much was that it was a group of girls that didn't kind of seem like they would be friends, but they get paired together because of certain circumstances, and they can talk to animals, and there's just magic everywhere. And as a girl growing up who loved animals and still loves animals to this day, I love the idea that this story brought into place. And a nice thing is you get cute little pictures like this to look at every now and then. And who doesn't want to look at cute, furry little creatures like this? So I would highly recommend this one just if you want to have a quick read and look at cute pictures of animals. I mean, look at that art, isn't it great? So there's this one as well. The next one is if you don't really feel like reading a chapter book at all, but you'd like to read manga or some sort of comics. I have two of my favorites that I really love, especially because of the representation it brings. So the two different ones would be Perfect World. And this one, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the name, so I apologize. I'm not going to try pronouncing this. But I absolutely love this the representation. You have the main character who's able-bodied and another main character who is in a wheelchair. And he was able-bodied to begin with, but because of some circumstances, ended up being in a wheelchair. And this girl grew up with a crush on him. And later when they get reconnected, she learns about what had happened to him. And it's just a beautiful story and brings a lot of things that you might not have considered, especially with accessibility. So, just to read a little bit about it. In search of perfection, a company get-together reunites 26-year-old Tsugumi with her high school crush Itsuki. In the years they've been apart, Itsuki has Burgess realized his dream of becoming an architect, but along the way, he also suffered a spinal cord injury that's left him in a wheelchair. Seeing Itsuki again rekindles Tsukumi's feelings for him. It also forces her to confront her own hidden prejudices. Itsuki's disability seems like an intimidating obstacle at first, but soon, Tsukumi discovers that her world feels imperfect without him. So, this is a really heartwarming story, and I actually do have most of the books behind me. I think I'm just missing a couple of the other ones, but if you do enjoy this story quite a bit, you can certainly borrow the rest of the books from me. The next one is A Sign of Affection, and I love this one so much. I found myself giggling at times and really falling in love with the female character in this book. She was very relatable and cutesy, and I just loved her energy. So with this one, Yuki is a college student who's into friends and fashion. She's also deaf. A chance meeting on a train leads to a serious crush. But can it grow into something more? Yuki, who's always been deaf, is used to communicating with sign language and her phone, but she's not used to English. So when a tourist from overseas asks for directions, she nearly panics until a handsome stranger steps in to help. His name is Itsumi, and it turns out he's a friend of a friend, a charismatic globetrotter. Itsumi speaks 3 languages, but he's never had a deaf friend. The two feel drawn to each other and plan a date on a romantic winter's night, but Yuki's friend is afraid that she might be getting herself up to get hurt. Could this be something real, or will these feelings melt away with the snow? It's so cute, and just so you get an idea, here's how some of the art looks in the book. It's just so lovely. Oh yeah, I can certainly show you. So the art in the other book, let's see, looks like this. It's all beautifully drawn. The other books that I have would be a little bit more adult-like, so I'll go and go through them a little bit quickly. They also are some old favorites of mine. So, first one is Goddess of the Sea, and then Goddess of Spring. And I will tell you, they are a bit spicier. I'd say they're mild on the spice, but the thing I loved about these books, and especially with the author, is that they are very female empowering. So with these books, it usually includes a character where she's kind of low on her confidence and everything, and unsure about what she wants to do, and through some sort of instance, she suddenly changes places with a goddess, and the goddess lives in her body, and she lives in the goddess's body. And throughout the story, she has to not only figure out how to do things that the goddess would do and make the right choice, but she also realizes how powerful of a woman she is, not only because of being in a goddess's body, but the true power she has inside as a woman. And I think these are great reads just to kind of feel all powerful and confident in yourself and the capabilities and abilities that you have, if that makes sense. So with this one, it's about mermaids, and with this one, it is a Persephone and Hades type of story. And like I said, they are a little bit more on the spicy side, but I do love them. I'm gonna read the Persephone and Hades one. Lena's bakery in Tulsa is proving to be less than lucrative, and she needs a plan. When she stumbles upon an Italian goddess's cookbook, Lena can't help but think she's found her answer, even if it means summoning an ancient goddess. Soon enough, Lena finds herself face to face with the goddess, Demeter, who proposes that Lena change places with Persephone, the goddess of spring, who will breathe new life into the bakery. In return, Lena, embodying the lovely Persephone must bring spring to a world of spirits. But when the handsome, brooding Hades kindles a spark in her heart, Lena wonders whether the Dark Lord of the underworld is her worst nightmare or the man of her dreams. So of course it is a little bit spicier, as you can tell from the description, but I think there are great snippets in the book that are very feel-good and mood-boosting. Now, this is going to be more of a select recommendation. I know not everyone likes thrillers, but personally for myself, I find that thrillers tend to be a huge mood booster for myself, if that makes sense. I know it might not, but one of my favorites would be Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. And as you can see, this book actually does have a film version on Netflix, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually did enjoy it. I know that a lot of the time, books that get turned into films aren't great, but they actually did a great job with this one. So the reason I loved it was because it was such a mystery. It didn't feel too much like a thriller, but there were some snippets, and the plot twist at the end completely threw me off and by surprise. So I enjoyed it very much. This one my aunt actually recommended to me. So I'm gonna read the back of the book, and then you let me know if you're interested in it as well. Louise, a single mom and secretary, is deeply embarrassed when she discovers that the man who sweet-talked and kissed her in the bar on a rare night out is her new boss. David, an Adele, new to town and lonely, who invited Louise for coffee after they bumped into each other on the street. Adele is David's wife. From the outside, David and Adele look like a picture-perfect husband and wife, but then why is David so controlling? And why is Adele so scared? As Louise is drawn further into David and Adele's orbit, she uncovers more puzzling questions. The only thing that is crystal clear is that something in this marriage is very, very wrong. But Louise can't guess how wrong or how far a person might go to protect their marriage secrets. So, if you are looking for something that is a little bit more of a thriller, a little bit more of a mystery, I would certainly recommend this one. I know I could go on and on about a lot of the books that I have behind me, but I feel like it might not be the best idea, it might take too long. So these are some of my recommendations, and if you ever need any more recommendations or want to know my TBR list, or even some of my favorite books that aren't necessarily mood boosters, I would certainly love to share them with you. But for now, I'd love to lend any of these books to you. Do you know which ones you'd like? Yes, okay. So, you want Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon, the last of the really great Whangdoodles, A Perfect World, A Sign of Affection, and Behind Her Eyes. Okay, yeah, so it looks like you have a pretty hefty book pile